Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guests today are from the upcoming production at Riverside Theatre, It's a Wonderful Life, but not like you've seen it before because it's an audio drama, a radio play. My guests are Juliana Fry-Mendez. Juliana, nice to have you with us.
Good to be here.
Kathleen Johnson. Hi, Kathleen.
Hi.
And Jay Piper Rosewell.
Hello.
Welcome. Nice to have you all here. This is, as I said, radio play, and I told you right before we rolled tape, coincidentally, I just came from a gathering of friends who are all current or ex radio people. In this group, we probably have 400 years of broadcasting experience.
Wow.
And I'm just going to go interview some people who are doing a radio play. Has anyone ever done a radio drama? And only one person at the table had. Radio dramas, not really a radio thing anymore. But I've done it a couple of times, one time in college. So I am familiar with the oeuvre, as it were. But Kathleen, let's start with you. Radio play. Who'd have thunk it? How'd that idea come about?
Yeah, absolutely. When we're looking at the shows that we can do and time of year, this show in particular, It's a Wonderful Life, is just so iconic and is very much a seasonal joy. And so getting to tell that story, but in this format, is especially unique. I think we've had a lot of Riverside patrons ask, well, radio play, what does that mean? Am I still coming to the theater? Am I still getting to see something? And the answer is yes. Mm-hmm. It is a treat for the eyes, but it's very familiar to the 1940s when audiences would get to go into a station and would get to sit and enjoy watching what those at home would also listen to. So it is 5 actors playing 40 plus roles. You get to see some of that physically and you get to hear it vocally. And then we have a lot of live Foley as well. Juliana has really directed us to create a treat for the ears and the eyes.
That's the interesting piece that makes it extra fun to watch, is watching how the sound effects are created. Juliana, have you done something like this before? Is it a new experience for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in one of my sort of first professional jobs ever, I got to be an assistant director on this production, and it was actors who'd been my teachers, and then I fell in love with it. And when I heard that Riverside Theatre was doing it, I said, hey, Adam, wouldn't it be wonderful if the 5 actors who made up the ensemble were also the people who were doing the live Foley effects, the live sound effects? Because traditionally in the 1940s, it would have been a designated Foley artist who would have had their own table, who would have not necessarily had any lines other than hurrah. But here I was really interested in, if we are going to show folks the labor and love that it takes to make a soundscape, how cool would it be to see a group of actors doing that together?
And that creates a lot more pressure on the actors.
Sure does. Sure does.
So, Jay, how's that going?
Well, it's definitely been quite a process, but it's been a lot of fun. Getting to know the intimacy that comes along with creating these sounds and creating these characters. It's been quite an experience to not only do it as an actor, as the character, but as the group of actors together. It's like we form a big unit, a mass on stage where we're working individually but also collectively as a group to create an experience. And it is really beautiful when it all comes together to enhance the story and lift it up with the sound and the music and all of the characters. It's really quite an experience, yes.
And you said there are 5 actors who play all of the roles.
Mm-hmm.
And Jay, you're obviously in the cast.
Yes.
I guess. And Juliana, are you acting? It sounds like you are also directing. You're involved in directing.
So I am the director. Thankfully, I only have one hat there, but Kathleen is also in the cast.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a lot of fun for me. It's a bit of a different role for me to play at Riverside, but
Pun intended.
performance, yeah, different role. Performance has always been, especially performance of multiple characters, was a huge part of my most formative years doing competitive speech. And so I think for those who lived in that world and grew up in that world, there will be something very familiar about it. And yet radio dramas where you're hearing all of these different things and getting to see those one person embody many characters is not something that we see a lot on stage. And yet so many people these days love watching their podcast hosts or their radio hosts recording, just like we're doing now. And so I think it really bridges this very nostalgic pastime with a very modern urge that we have to both hear and watch the process being made. Like, how is it you get to this endpoint? And so to get to see these giant tables when you walk into the theater, it's truly like walking into a 1940s radio set, and you see all these different tools and toys and instruments laid out. And then the question becomes, how do they use all those to create the things we're about to hear and see?
And the answer is use each and every one of them.
Yes, we do.
But many times not in the way that you might think.
Absolutely.
Because, what's
we
this
have baseball mitts and radio flyers and
what's this box of sand
banjos.
for?
Yeah, yes. So
In putting this together, it's not uncommon for some theater productions to have people playing multiple characters. And the challenge is, how do we get them on and off or change their costume really fast so that people understand they are playing a different character? This is one of the things that's a little bit easier because you don't have to worry about that part.
I would say
yes, Angela.
Or Jay is worrying.
it makes it easier and a bit more challenging because we don't have the visual clue of a new costume to show that there is a new character. So we have to do an extra job of making each character even more distinct and making it very clear that we are someone else, because we may be standing at the exact same stand in front of the exact same microphone delivering back-to-back lines as two different people. So how can we make it so that each person is so differentiated that it is immediately clear that we are two different people?
And at the end of the day, it's not getting broadcast on the radio. There are real people sitting in those seats watching it happen and remembering that we want to give them physicality and something beautiful to see and watch as well. And so it is very much a piece of drama to see and experience in the room, as much as it is to like briefly close your eyes and see what that does to you.
What about costuming?
Ooh, do you want to
are we set in the 40s?
We sure are.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So one of the things that was really important to me as I was like thinking about what the world the audience is walking into is that we are preserving the fact that this is Christmas Eve, 1946. And for me, it was important that we are in Iowa City. When you come to join us in the theater, you'll be traveling to the broadcast studio space of KNIC, or Kinnick, as I like to think of it. And you will be meeting 5 actors who come in full period costume that's leaning towards the holidays. So we've got some holiday colors, but we really did try and worked with a phenomenal costume designer, Carly Meyer, who, am I pronouncing her last name correctly? Myers. Thank you. Thank you so much. We are working with a phenomenal costume designer named Carly Myers, who has really done a beautiful job making sure that each of the actors has their own unique look that is not only period specific, but also is connected to the character and some of the characters they play in the play. So it's a real treat to watch this ensemble of folks who, it's like, how are these folks all going to work together? But when they begin moving and saying lines, and we have some blocking so that we are changing the stage picture, we are really transported on this like armed orchestra almost. It's almost like watching an octopus play many different instruments and speak lines at the same time is how I explain it.
You say the word orchestra, and that makes that my next question then is the music cues and background music, very important in a production like this. How is that going to work?
Yeah.
They are all live. We do all of the music ourselves. We have quite a talented cast of musicians, and all of us play some kind of instrument at some point, and so all of the music is being handled by the cast.
Oh, wow. That adds yet another degree. It's like that production of Sweeney Todd where the actors also played all the instruments.
Yes.
Right.
And in the in-between times, the pre-show and the intermission, when we are not out on stage playing music, there's a lovely little record player playing period holiday songs. what I think is so joyful is all of this new version of seeing something that is so familiar to so many people, which is ultimately the story of It's a Wonderful Life. It's the story of George Bailey going through an entire life and questioning, like, what has my purpose been and what has my impact been, and getting to see that no matter how big or small, that everything we're able to give is so important, and that community is so important. And now what's a better time than now to live in that world for a little bit.
Is there anything that we'll see when we watch this regarding the story that might be different than the movie, or anything that we're familiar with, or does it follow pretty much the plot that we all know?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic question. So the plot is the story of It's a Wonderful Life as we know and love through the movie. But I think it's important to remember that and it was a big goal of mine, that we were casting folks in these roles that I thought could really speak to the multiplicity of the human experience. And I was less interested in seeking out someone who could play X iconic role, right? We weren't seeking a George Bailey that was going to feel like Jimmy Stewart, but I have really tried to remind the actors that the way they approach their characters is the way that we are reinterpreting it for this moment. And maybe Jay can speak to what that experience has been like, taking on the iconic role of Clarence the Angel.
Yes, I think it's been really delightful to be Clarence the Angel. It's such an iconic character, and to infuse the joy, especially at this time. I think that is what the world needs, some joy and hope and that compassion. And to infuse that not only in the character of Clarence, but throughout the play, in the moments when Clarence isn't speaking, and when it can be effusive throughout the production. It's been quite an experience for me personally to take that on and to share that with the cast and the audience, and I look forward to doing it.
The other piece that often adds a lot of color to a production like this is your station breaks, commercials.
Yes.
And sometimes that's one of the most fun and creative things you get to do, because sometimes you get to write that yourself. It's not a part of the actual script.
Yeah, it's so fun. And truly, I think that our creative team has honored the idea that when you are stepping in, you're coming to what that experience would have been like for you in the 1940s, 1950s, 1930s. And so you get to see all of those actors checking in on their items before the actual work of the storytelling begins. Just so much of early radio drama was foundationally led thanks to the sponsorships of the places around them. We have little songs and ditties and advertisements that are very true to what would have been heard at the time. The creative team has done a really lovely job of grounding all of us in the world of the 1940s radio. When you attend, if you go to Riverside, in the lobby, there are boards that talk you through that too. So to enhance your experience, you get to learn about some of those key voices that made the golden age of radio so vibrant. And I think you can then see that relayed when we're on stage.
It's a Wonderful Life, the radio play at Riverside Theatre, opening the 29th, yeah?
Yes, Friday.
And then you've got a nice long run.
Yep, we're going for 3 weekends until December 15th. It's a great show for the whole family. It is accessible for, I think, everyone. And so it's a wonderful thing to put on your calendar this time of year. Tickets are already selling really fast. So we hope you join us and get those tickets soon, because
there are always a lot of really great holiday shows.
Yeah.
This is definitely a unique one.
Yes.
And an experience that you and the family will remember. And I'm glad you brought up something for the whole family, because you made, radio drama, the 40s. My grandkids or kids, they're not going to get this. They will.
There is
love
a
it.
spectacle to it and a familiarity of the story that I think can sometimes make a parent hesitant to bring a child. Are they going to follow it? Are they going to be interested in it? And I'll be bringing my 5-year-old and 8-year-old. So.
Oh, yeah. All the things that are going on. You think, radio drama, there won't be much to see. But that's what your team has done, Juliana, is make sure that, like you said at the top of the interview, a feast for the eyes as well as the ears.
We've really been thinking about a feast, a smorgasbord for all the senses. You can close your eyes and you can listen, but you can also leave them open and watch the physical storytelling. The lights are doing some really interesting things as we go into the second half of the show and we watch George re-watch and think about what life would have been like were he never to have been born. So we've got some really interesting design things happening. Yeah, definitely visually stunning.
Yeah. Sounds like a blast. Good luck with it as you open. If people want tickets, you said they're going fast, so we got to jump on this.
Yeah, you can call the Riverside Theatre box office. It's Riverside Theatre in Iowa City, downtown Iowa City. You can go online to riversidetheater.org and order your own tickets online. You can also email or call the box office. All that information is on our website. We'll make sure to help get you seats.
Thanks so much for coming today. This is, as I said, as a radio person, all things audio and visual are fun and exciting, and looking forward to this a lot. Thanks so much for being with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can hear The Culture Crawl live on the radio most weekdays at 10:30, on demand at kcck.org/culture, or subscribe using your favorite podcast player. Watch our videos on the KCCK Facebook and YouTube channels. Our producer is Lydia Kilgore. The Culture Crawl theme is composed by Vivian Shanley. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.